Hi, welcome to episode 36 of the Corner of Knit and Tea. It is Sunday, April 19th. My name is Laura, and I can also be found as Fluffy K on Ravelry, Fluffy Kira on Instagram and Twitter. I blog, and this episode's show notes will be up at thecornerofknitandtea.com. And I also have an Etsy shop called The Stash Buckler Adventures in Yarn, where I sell my handspun yarns. Finally, we have a Ravelry group called The Corner of Knit and Tea, and if you haven't come over and checked us out, please do. We're going to have some knit-alongs coming up, and I do have some ideas for some giveaways and prizes soon, so please come and join us and keep in touch, and I will let you know what's going to be happening soon. So hi, how are you? I hope you've had a wonderful week. We have. I wanted to say that today I am experimenting a little bit with light in the room, and I added another lamp over off to this side. So I'm hoping that I won't have quite as much shadow on this side of the face. And I am still working on the background, but we're getting to it. So I hope you've had a good week. Things here have been pretty normal, pretty quiet. Work was kind of just regular. The weather has been really nice this week. It's been in the 60s and 70s, actually even high 70s. It's been sunny. We had a little bit of rain, but it's been very spring-like and all the trees are suddenly budding. And then the other thing that was exciting for me, and I must be becoming an adult, I got a new toy. I got a Fitbit Charge in plum, and I was waiting for it. I've been waiting for it to come in. My husband got his Fitbit back in February, and he has been tracking his steps and kind of bragging about it, or not bragging about it, but telling me about all the stats on his Fitbit, and I've been jealous because I want my own stats on my own Fitbit. So it came this week, and basically it's been telling me that I don't move around very much at all. The goal is 10,000 steps a day, and I'm taking, on a good day, maybe 3 or 4. So I definitely need to up my exercise. I did find out quite by accident. So I'm left-handed, so I end up wearing my Fitbit on my non-dominant hand, which is my right. It just so happens that I use my right to crank my ball winder. And I did learn that cranking the ball winder and winding yarn leads to steps on the Fitbit. So apparently if I just do nothing but wind yarn all the time, I'll have 10,000 steps every single day. And one of my friends pointed out that sometimes using the ball winder is kind of an arm workout, but I'm not sure that that's exactly what they suggested. I did have people tell me that knitting and, well, I was curious about spinning. I did have people tell me that knitting tends to add steps, although I have not actually found that to be the case. In my case, I think that's because my right hand doesn't do a lot of moving when I knit. And I was wondering if it would take spinning as some form of exercise, because I am treadling, but it doesn't seem to. So it seems like I'm going to actually have to get out and do the steps. And so I'm thinking about whether or not I should take some classes. I actually, a while ago, I took a Zumba class and kind of liked it. It's, I'm not a terribly exercise crazed person. I haven't found what I like. And so I just end up getting bored and wishing I was doing something else with my time. And we're not a terribly, I was not really born into a family that likes sports, and so I'm just really not. But I have a desk job, and we don't have public transport, so there's not a lot of walking around in the city to try and, catch the train or whatnot. So I'm working on getting my steps up a little bit. Anyway, that was a long explanation and not at all knitting related, so I will stop there. If any of you have a Fitbit and want to be friends, though, just let me know and we can connect. So that was the excitement for this week. Like I said, you must be getting older if you're excited about a Fitbit and upping your steps and exercise. So let's get to the actual show. This week I am drinking iced tea. I had stashed it behind the computer there. It is berry kiwi colada. It's an herbal infusion from Teavana. And it is hibiscus flowers, rose hips, candied pineapple, candied mango, carrot slices, candied tangerine, apple slices, coconut chips, lemon verbena, and strawberry slices. So it is a nice herbal infusion. It's great iced. What I did was I just brewed a cup hot and poured it over ice. I'm still working on the pitcher of tea from last week, which was the strawberry kiwi. But I can't drink the same tea 2 weeks in a row on the show. So I brought a new one for you. And actually I was also going to try putting, I don't have very much left of this. So I was going to try putting the rest of this one in with a green tea for kind of this week's pitcher of tea. So I'm going to work on that later on. And it's pretty good. I think I like the strawberry kiwi a little bit better. But this is not bad. I will say as a general rule, I'm not always thrilled with Teavana offerings. There are some that I like, but for the most part, I don't like them as much as some of the other places that I purchase tea. And I always see intriguing flavors and purchase them, and then a lot of times I'm not super happy with them, and Teavana tends to be kind of expensive. So I'm not trying to dissuade anyone, and if you have a favorite Teavana blend, please leave me a message and let me know, because I would probably love to try it. But I just have found that in general, if I'm looking, David's Tea, Republic of Tea, there are quite a few other places that I think I get more teas that I really like for my money. So I'm sort of so-so on Teavana, if I'm allowed to say that. However, this one's not too bad, and I'm gonna, like I said, probably finish it off and make a pitcher this week. So, and I'm drinking in my Tervis mug, which I love come summer because it keeps everything nice and cold. And actually, I've heard people drink out of these and put hot beverages in them. I know they're okay for that. I generally don't, but you could use your Tervis year-round if you wanted to. So that is what I'm sipping. I am not actually wearing any knitting. It is warm enough in our house this morning that I just decided I didn't need anything knit. So this week will be devoid of what I'm wearing. So, and I will try and show you some of my summer tops in the coming weeks, because I'll probably be wearing them to work and kind of bringing them out. And I'll be doing lots of summer knits, so I will have those to show you. So let's get started on this week. I have 2 finished objects this week. The first is I realized that it was April 19th or April 18th, which was yesterday, and that I hadn't knit a charity hat for the month. And we have a Dungeons & Dragons group that came over and played yesterday, and the game went very long. And I always knit a little something during the game because there are 8 of us, so as we're all taking our turns, it takes a little time to go around the circle. So I cast on and finished a Barley Hat. This is the Barley pattern by Tin Can Knits, and this is a skein of Dreaming Color Smooshy, which is the sock yarn that I ended up holding doubled, and the colorway is Lipstick Lava, which is a pinky red, and it's got some purpley bits in it. And I just needed a simple hat and something I could work on during game that wouldn't take a lot of concentration. And so I finished the hat, and that is another 175 yards out of the stash and another hat for charity. As I always say, I am knitting these for a friend of mine who works for it's a school for underserved youth in the area, and come fall, she has trouble because they come fall and winter, they don't necessarily have appropriate clothing. So I am trying to adapt patterns and knit hats for elementary school age children so that she has them and she can give them out. And I'm trying to pick things that are either acrylic or easy care. Smooshy can be washed in the washing machine, not a problem at all. So that is finished object number 1 for the week. Finished object number 2 is, as I had hoped, the Featherweight Cardigan. This is knit in Haiku, which is a yarn by Skacel in Riley, which is an alpaca linen silk base, which gives it a really, really nice drape. This is the Featherweight Cardigan by Hannah Fedig. It is knit for a 34-inch bust. and I knit it on size 5 needles to get a gauge that this is a sample for a yarn store. I knit it on size 5 needles to get a gauge that I thought the yarn store owner would be happy with. And she's using it as a spring and early summer cardigan, and the color really is not showing up. The colorway is C, and it is kind of an icy blue, and it's beautiful. So this project is done, and I will be mailing it off to the store this week, and I am happy to have it off the needles, and I hope that she will enjoy it and that it will inspire people to purchase yarn and knit the pattern, which is often what shop samples are supposed to do. So that is my second finished object of the week, and I'm super excited about that. So that brings me to what I'm working on. I have talked in the last few weeks, though I have not done too much showing, about Krita, which is by, hold on just a moment, let me check my notes, which is by Yarn Madness. It is a pattern that was available through Knitty, the magazine, so it is completely free. It is living in my Ravelry bag, and I just love these bags. They're great. They're drawstring, they're muslin, they're easy. And I have gotten some work in on Krita this week. I am alternating because I am using Yo-Yo Cash Sport String, and the dyer is no longer in business, but it was indie dyed yarn, and so I am alternating balls. I am working with 2 balls at once because I want to be sure that if there's any color difference between the balls, it's evenly distributed throughout the sweater. This is a top-down raglan sweater with a lace pattern. Sorry, I'm just trying to get situated here. Too many strings, kind of getting started. But as you can see, I have divided for the sleeves, and I am now on the lace pattern. The way this works is it's got a V-neck. It's a V-neck cardigan, and then it has you start adding in lace repeats as you go across. Each time you finish a pattern, you add another repeat, and they will meet. I haven't put repeats on the back yet. I'm just getting there. They will meet partway down the back, and then it will be a long cardigan. So that is where I'm at right now. And I am just going until I run out of these balls. I have 2 balls of yarn that look roughly like this, although kind of messy. And then I have 2 more. I will probably, as soon as I finish the current ones on the body, I will probably do the sleeves to make sure that I don't run out of yarn so that I have enough. And then I will add whatever's left to the body. The nice thing about this cardigan is that you are knitting the button band edging as you go along. You can see there's some garter stitch edging in there. And so I don't have to add anything after the fact. So I can actually just keep knitting until I get down to the bottom and then just knit the hem, and I am done. So I'm hoping that this will see a lot of work this week. I didn't do a ton of work on it this past week because I was working on the Featherweight, but this is my next focus, and I hope to finish this probably not by next weekend, but maybe within 2 weeks. So, and the reason there are needles everywhere is because I have a needle holding the stitches in the sleeve. I had thought about starting the sleeve sooner, but decided with since I'm using 2 balls at a time for each section, that was going to have 4 balls attached to the sweater, and that was just going to be a nightmare. So, yeah. So that is Krita. And I think the color is actually showing pretty true in there. So that is what I will be working on this weekend. I actually finished the hat yesterday and still had more time to work, so I cast on a new project. I wanted to get some more socks on the needles, and these actually are really special socks. It's with yarn hand spun by a friend of mine who, she had a shop open for a little while, but I don't think she's still doing it. Her name is Lime Juicy on Ravelry, and I believe her shop was called Lime Juicy as well. Her name's Sarah, and she had sent me a long time ago. We had done some kind of exchange, and as an extra that I wasn't expecting, she sent me 2 skeins of end-plied yarn, basically matching skeins for socks in a colorway that I absolutely love. It's 2 by hand flowers and football tops. And you might remember it because I used it for the Mario the Artistic Rabbit that I made for Roxy. It is teals or turquoises and kind of a chocolate brown and cherry reds, and then some pinks and light blues and light browns kind of as it rotates through. Anyway, I am way overdue in making something from this because it was a beautiful gift, and I can't believe that I waited this long to cast these on because they're fabulous. This is between a sport and fingering weight. It's an end ply yarn, Navajo ply or chain ply yarn, and I am using my Signatures US ones, which are 2.25 millimeters, and I knit a toe last night, and you can see these beautiful colors. You can't exactly see the shading in, well, yeah, that's actually perfect. You can see the shading in the toe and the pink and blue, and then into the chocolate brown, and then I'm going right back into the cherry red, and these socks are going to be amazing, and I am going to love these. As you can see, I am getting right to the area where I want to do a heel. I am just knitting basic vanilla socks with these. I didn't want to do a pattern because I wasn't exactly sure how it was going to stripe. I am at 52 stitches. Normally I knit 56 stitches, but since this is kind of a sport weight, the 56 stitches was coming out looking huge, so I ripped back a little bit. I'm using my standard rounded toe, and I will probably do a Fish Lips Kiss heel, so that will come up this week. And I hope to have the first sock finished by next week, if not the second one started. I think because these are sport weight, these will be kind of a quick pair of socks, and I am so happy and excited, even though I probably won't wear them until the fall because it's getting too warm for kind of sport weight thick hand-spun socks. I'm still absolutely loving knitting them, and I am so grateful that she sent this to me. Sorry, I have a stitch falling off the needle. And this was a super fun, quick project to start. I just needed something that was mindless yesterday, and a vanilla sock totally fits the bill. I am definitely, so that is what's on the needles this week. I knit some more centers for my blanket, but I haven't attached any, so I decided not to bring that in to show you. And the pie shawl that I've been working on got no love this week. I suspect it will be until I finish Krita before I go back to that and try and dig in and do some more work. I am on, I believe, the 4th chart. And it gets repeated several times, so it's going to be a long haul. I mean, I'm now starting the 560-ish number of stitches, and it's going to take a long time between rounds, and so I don't know how much I'll bring that one back. I am also completely captivated by Starditis. I have a whole bunch of different projects that I would really like to do, and my guess is as soon as I finish something, whether it be the socks or the Krita, I'm probably going to cast on a shawl. There are a number of people who are doing shawl knit-alongs. Schnuffeltier, which is Tracy over on the Passionate Spinner podcast, and then Kate, Hello Knitty Kate over at the Stitch Addiction podcast is doing shawls for the summer, and there are actually a few other people, so I am going to double and triple dip. I do have one shawl picked out already, and I have some others that I am mulling over, some with handspun, some with commercial dyed yarns, and I'm just kind of all a Twitter and ready to knit. I think right now I'm probably, with the weather turning, I'm thinking about shawls and socks more. I have like the next 3 or 4 pairs of socks planned out too. So I have some ideas for summer knitting. And I wonder what you're going to be knitting for summer knitting. We had a few knit-along ideas in the group. Some were to knit with cotton, some were to knit springy or summery things, and so I was thinking probably the next knit-along, maybe in May and June, will be to knit summery things, and that could be with cotton or with summery colors. or things that are light and airy or small projects. And I'm probably gonna try and open it and make it as wide and accepting of projects as possible, because I like everyone to be able to participate and kind of do your own thing, but still have it be part of a knit-along. So we are already at 20 minutes. I am just a chatty Cathy today. That brings me to spinning. Last week I was spinning a beautiful braid from the Mega Sal. It is Into the World Superwash Merino in the Death colorway. And I finished that and am crazy in love with it. It was teals, purples, and black and gray, and I think that it's kind of, the monitor is not handling the blues and purples quite so well and kind of showing you the blacks. This is pretty good, but not quite. I'll probably have to take a bunch of pictures. I think it's missing some of the lighter turquoisey tones. This skein will not be going in the shop. I had decided, and as I thought about it last week, the name is not terribly appropriate, but I really liked the colors, and I really thought it would make a nice hat and mitten set for Roxy this coming winter. So I'm certainly not meaning anything by the fact that it's called Death after a character in Terry Pratchett's Discworld series of books. Death is a character and comes at various times, but I just really, really loved the colors, and I thought they would be a super cute set for Miss Roxy. My sister actually, I asked her what Roxy might need for the fall, and she said, well, she's, her head has grown. She's kind of outgrowing the hats and mittens that you knit for her, and I said, that's fine, because as you remember, if you've been watching for a while, I knit her a bunch of hats and mittens this fall because she needed them. And I guess I should explain if you're just joining me now. Roxy is my niece. She is, she's about 18 months old. So this winter was her first winter kind of toddling around. And she did not want to wear hats or mittens, so she didn't like keeping things on her head, and she kept tearing the mittens off, but I knit them for her regardless. Anyway, they're not fitting so well anymore because she's growing, and so my sister asked if I could do some more. So I saw this. I specifically bought this in Superwash Merino because it will be easy to care for, and figured that I would knit her some more hats and mittens. So that's that one. I am actually choosing to spin another braid of fiber from the Mega Sal. That is a group on Ravelry, and like I said, it's all colorways inspired by Terry Pratchett's Discworld books. This is from Hello Yarn. It is Targy, which is a little bit like merino, but it is crazy poofy and soft. And this is You Can't Grow a Good Witch on Chalk. It is some lovely neutrals, some yellows, and a little bit of ochre, and a little bit of caramel, and some browns, and some whites, and then there are just a few pops of peach that you can sort of barely see. And I specifically bought the Targy base because the pops of peach on it were just really beautiful. And this one actually will be going up in the shop, so if you like neutrals, that will be happening. That is what I plan to spin this week, and will be able to show you next week. So that concludes almost everything I had prepared. Over in the Ravelry group, I started a thread called AMA, Ask Me Anything, and I did have one new question this week that I wanted to address. Vinka Kent, who is married, I think, or married, I'm terrible with pronunciation, particularly in Welsh names, so please, please, please correct me. But Vinka Kent is her Ravelry name, and she has a super cute cat in a frog hat, which I love. And she asked, when did you learn to knit and crochet? Did you learn from someone, or did you teach yourself? Knitting I learned from my grandmother, and I always say that I was 7, but the truth is that I don't exactly know. I know that when I was really little, she taught me how to knit. My grandmother was kind of, she was kind of a Renaissance personality. She did a little bit of everything. She apparently she did spin, although I don't remember that. While I was growing up, they lived in a 3-story house at the beach, and the basement was full of yarn, like wall-to-wall yarn. She had a huge floor loom that she used primarily, from what I know, for doing wall tapestries, and we had some hanging in my house growing up. She was a painter. Her house was covered in oil paintings that she had done. She did some sculpting. I know that she didn't, I don't believe she went to college, but she was an illustrator for a while, and she worked not so much in marketing, but she drew all kinds of illustrations for advertisements and pamphlets and books, and I know that she showed us some of that, and she just did a little bit of everything. And I really picked up the needlework. Primarily she knit. I don't know if she did any cross stitch or crochet. I know she basically taught me the basics of knitting, knitting and purling and yarn overs, and I spent many hours on the couch with her, learning how to knit, going downstairs to her basement and picking out some yarn and some needles. I remember when I was in middle school, I knit some kind of a vest or a top, and I picked it out of a magazine, and I picked yarn that was probably totally inappropriate for it. It was a chenille, and it had some kind of stitch pattern that either crossed or cabled. I can't remember, and to be honest, I don't have the top anymore. And what I most remember is that it was difficult for me to learn how to do the stitches. And she cast on patiently, and we worked on it, and I'd screw it up and throw it down, and we'd rip it out, and she'd cast on again. And I do remember that one night I threw it down and said, "That's it, I don't want to do this anymore, I'm done." And when I woke up the next morning, she had ripped it all out and cast it on, and the cast on row was on the needle waiting for me to start again. And she was super patient and sat next to me and taught me. And there is not a day that goes by that I knit that I don't think about how thankful I am that she taught me, and or wish for more time with her. I will be honest, I didn't learn a lot of what I know today from her. She taught me the basics, and like I said, we worked through middle school. When I was she had arthritis, and so by the time I got into high school, she had way cut back on her knitting. She was not doing much at all. One of my most treasured possessions, and I should have brought it with me though I didn't, is she knit me an Afghan right before I went off to college. And unfortunately, it was either my freshman year or sophomore year in college, she got pneumonia. And she was never really the same after that. And kind of gradually, she had some form of dementia. And so we lost her the summer right after I graduated from college. And so I got the last piece of work that she really did, and it is an Afghan, and I will love it forever. And to be honest, even when I look at it today, I can't exactly pick up the stitch pattern that she used. So it's still kind of a fun little mystery to me. My sister is 3 years younger than me, and so when she went off to college, my grandmother was far too ill to knit her a blanket. And I found the yarn and the pattern that my grandmother had picked out to knit her a blanket, because I think she had been intent on starting it kind of right after she finished mine, so she would have it done way in advance. And she had even knit, I can't remember whether she had started knitting or whether she was swatching, and so there was a piece of knitting in the pattern that I bound off and gave to my sister. But at that point, it was a cabled Afghan. And to be honest, I had never knit with a cabled needle, and all I could think was, oh goodness, I couldn't possibly use a third needle. What would I do? And I really had no idea. So I took all the yarn that she had set aside for my sister's blanket and combined it with some other things, And I knit my sister basically a linen stitch Afghan in all kinds of stripes, and then I knitted her a pillow to match, and I finished it her freshman year, so she got to have her own Afghan because my grandmother couldn't knit it for her. That was what kind of, I guess, sort of re-sparked my interest in knitting. But even then, I was knitting super, super simple stuff. Pretty much it had to be rectangular or square. I didn't do garments. I didn't really do shaping, even though I kind of knew how to knit the basics. I had never read charts. I had never done any of that. And I was sort of convinced that because my grandmother wasn't around anymore, that there wasn't anyone to teach me. And so I just couldn't learn it. Fast forward to when I'm 25, living as an adult in Los Angeles. And as you know, in the last 10 or 15 years, there's been a huge resurgence of knitting and a lot of knitting shops opened. I mean, I remember when I was a kid, we used to go to Michael's and Joann's and get acrylic yarns. Occasionally, we'd order from the Hirschner's catalog. I don't know if any of you have seen that. So all of a sudden, there were these beautiful yarn stores, and there was this beautiful yarn store not very far from my house. And I went in and they had a knit night and I had a great time, and I decided I was going to kind of start participating. And honestly, that yarn store and those two owners opened my eyes to a whole world of knitting that I really hadn't envisioned existed or thought was sort of closed off to me. And the first 6 months there, I grew by leaps and bounds. I found all kinds of new yarns, I found magazines, I learned how to read charts, I used YouTube tutorials, and all of that has really sort of influenced the knitter that I am today. So I will say my grandmother taught me the basics, and she taught me a love of knitting. And like I said, there is not a day that goes by that I'm not thankful that she taught me, or that I don't think of her as I knit everything that I knit. But I'm also quite a bit self-taught because we never really got past the introductory stuff, if you will. As for crocheting, that's totally something that I've picked up later. I'm completely self-taught on that, primarily YouTube tutorials, and just kind of understanding how yarn works. I mean, I think once you pick up either crochet or knitting, they're all about making loops in yarn and connecting things together. So, I mean, there are certainly differences. You're using 2 needles versus 1. You've got live stitches versus not live stitches. You know, on knitting, you've got a whole row of live stitches, whereas in crochet, you've pretty much just got 1 at a time. But to me, once you know 1 and kind of understand how the yarn loops together and how things are formed and shaping, you can kind of, you know, that to make shaping you either increase or decrease. A lot of those principles are kind of universal across the 2 crafts, and if you're okay at watching techniques demonstrated, or, you know, on YouTube videos, or reading about them, or looking at pictures and trying to figure out how it works, I think these days you can teach yourself anything on the internet. So I hope that answered your question. That was like a really long-winded answer to a pretty simple question. So that brings me to the end of everything I had prepared. I hope you have a wonderful week and that you are enjoying all of your crafting. I can't wait to speak to you next time, and I will say, as I always do, happy spinning, happy knitting, and happy sipping, and I'll see you next time. Bye!